Hi, so in this video I'm going to show you some practical tips on how to measure and order the right size for a storm door. I'll also be showing you the installation parts against the storm door so you know why you're measuring the areas that you're measuring. So first things first, you're going to measure the depth. You're also going to measure the width and height. And don't overlook the depth. So here I am pointing out the depth, which is 1 inch. And usually a lot of the storm doors has a minimum of 3/4 of an inch. So you want to measure the outer width. So this is the outer width from left to right. So don't measure the inner width, measure the outer width. And keep in mind the parts. So I'm going to show you the 3 parts that actually fasten and adhere to the door frame. So you notice here along there where I have my finger is where you're actually going to install the storm door frame. So I'm going to just pan in, and you want to measure the outer width from left to right. And let me show you the actual installation guide. So what you actually want to do is you want to go on to Home Depot or Lowe's and actually look for the door you want to order. And usually they come in the 3 sizes. They come with the 30-inch, the 32-inch, and the 36-inch. But what you really want to do is you want to scroll down to where there is the detail specifications, and they'll have an installation guide, an assembly guide, and a measurement guide. And you want to bring up the measurement guide and look at the tolerances of each door. Now this explains that you should measure the door's width in 3 places, average it out. So my door is actually very old, it's from an old house. You also want to measure the height. So mine might vary a lot more than a newer house or a very well maintained door frame. And there are 3 things you want to measure. You want to measure the width, you want to measure the height, and you want to measure the depth. So in a lot of these photos, what you see is the B area. So the B is the depth. And in the depth, you'll notice that it says there needs to be a minimum of 1 inch. And I'll show you that typically when you're installing it, where the actual frame rests. So if I scroll down a little bit more to the measurement guide, it tells me the particular models and the particular tolerances. So for a 32-inch door, you'll see that it has a tolerance of 31 7/8 inch for a particular model, and for other particular models it's 31 inch and 3/4 to 32 3/8. So just keep that in mind. Look on the websites for the actual tolerances of the door itself. So that will also enhance the information that you gather when you're actually measuring your actual door versus what these models support as far as the actual minimum and maximum width and height. So let me go ahead and also now show you the parts for the installation and why you're measuring the places you're measuring. Now what I have in my hand is the top piece of the storm door frame, and I'm going to be putting it up there, and you'll notice that it is placed right on the outer edge. So I'm going to focus up there. And you'll notice that the fastening of the screws is on the outside. So the reason why you're measuring the outer edge of the door frame is because this piece and all 3 pieces that make up the storm door frame rest on the outside and is screwed in on the outside. So you see one of the 3 screw holes is screwed in on the outside. Now this is the same for the hinge frame and also for the frame that holds the door lock. So that's the frame that holds the door lock, and you could see here that I have it installed and it runs along the top here. So that is really what you're measuring, is the outer, basically the outer width for that reason. And I'm just running down along there. Now my door was more than 80 inches, so that is something you just can't help. What makes up for it is actually the door guard at the bottom. And you'll see just running up to the top, that is the other piece of the frame. Now I'm going to put this hinge frame along the door frame, And so you'll notice why you're measuring for the depth here is because both the hinge and the other frame from left and right actually rest along the side here. And you'll see once again the screw holes that fasten up against the door frame on the sides. So that's the reason for the depth and also for the outer width. So this gives you another view of where you're installing the screws along the door frame and gives you a better idea of why you're measuring the width where you're measuring it. So also across from the top, you'll see here once again where the top lip is installed and how much area and room you'll need to screw in those screws. Here's the before view of when the door lock frame is installed. So this gives you a very good idea of the outer edge that you've been measuring. And here is the after view of that particular frame installed and where the screws are. So that gives you an idea of the width you need for actually screwing in the screws, and also why you're once again measuring it at the places you're measuring it. So that's really it. I hope this helps, and please subscribe, and thank you for watching.